Lowest I ever hit was probably the night that I tried to commit suicide driving my car off the road. That was probably the lowest that I've ever been.
How I describe J.C. Baker, just enthusiastic, one of those people who you see and he just makes you smile. I mean, it's really one of those things where you just kind of see him and he just makes your day better. Like, we'll be getting ready for practice and he literally is right across from me, across like the locker room, and I see him every day and we make eye contact and he just kind of gives me one of these and I always give him one of those, and it's just one of those things where we just get each other, you know.
I think JC always brings a lot of energy. You know, he's a very exciting guy. He's an excitable kid, and I think the guys gravitate to him because of that. You know, he does just about everything right and does it the right way. So, you know, he's an easy guy to follow that way.
JC, he's just a good person and knows what it takes to be successful. You know, work ethic. He's got a great work ethic, and so when he came in, his role was just to try to fit in to the team somehow, some way. He just wanted to be a team member, and he just waited for an opportunity, and when he got a couple opportunities, he took full advantage.
He's fun-loving. He likes to crack a lot of jokes, and he is quiet at first, but once he gets to know you, the non-stop riot act. He likes to just joke around a lot, and that's his big thing. Is he likes to feel comfortable with people. He doesn't feel comfortable with everybody. It takes a while, but once he gets them going, he's just fun-loving. He loves competing.
I guess I'm a loving person. I really care about people. I always try to put people before myself and just try to get back as much as I can. Not really about myself. I think the hardest part for me is always talking about myself.
When he was 5, he was running around with his older brother who's 5 years older, and he wanted to play soccer with him. So that was his big thing. He had to hang out with Brian, his older brother, and play soccer. And then it got to the point when he became 7, he wanted to do his own thing.
Because he didn't really like me hanging out with him since he was 5 years older than me, so I was always tagging along. So I knew if I was good at a sport, then whenever he had to play that sport with his friends, he'd bring me along, and that was the case, you know. Never had to worry about my brother, you know, skipping on me and when we played pickup games in the front yard.
And it turned out football was his thing. We used to throw the ball out in the front yard every day. We'd go out to the park, throw the ball around, and he had a great hand-eye coordination. That's what I noticed. So I said, well, let's get him out with other kids to see how well he competes. So at the age of 7, he did his first year of tackle football with Pop Warner, and he hasn't looked back since.
I think it was just a way of me connecting with my dad and finding a niche that I was kind of good at on the recess and playground, something I could fit in with the kids and whatnot. So I always thought I was pretty decent at it. Didn't think I was too great, but you know, it was something I could relate to my dad about, talk to him, and go out to the recess and play with the kids.
The great thing was a lot of the kids, and this is just because of their age group, a lot of the kids didn't like contact. Whenever they would come towards somebody, if they were running a play, they would pull up and not really go into each other. JC would try to go through them. He was just that type, and he was faster than everybody else. His favorite thing to do, just before practice started, was run the ball through his teammates, just zigzag through them. People would be as close as she and I to him, but they couldn't tackle him because he was just out of reach. And then he'd come back the other way and do the same thing. It was just his way of saying, okay, I'm having fun with this. I'm a little bit faster than you guys, so, you know, that's how he did it. And that was the big difference I noticed with him.
The biggest difference that I saw on the field with JC, his maturity level has always been at a different level, or he thought through things a lot different. One of his first Pop Warner coaches was Coach Buzz. We call his householder, but his name was Buzz. We call him Coach Buzz. And he had a little thing when he would see parents carrying their kids' pads to practice, and he would stop the parent and chastise the parent to let them know, you're creating a situation I'm going to have to correct on the field. It is his pads, his responsibility. He should be carrying them. And if you want to start carrying his responsibilities, you're going to carry it for the rest of that child's life. And JC has always been, and you'll see that Even now, I'll have one of my heavy bags after a game, and JC will come and take my bags. And that's something he got at an early age, learning that responsibility that
We
he had.
never, ever had to go outside and say, hey, let's go and practice. He was
No.
always pulling me out there. I was like, okay,
That's true.
this is fun. And we used to do the passing tree on both sides, so he got comfortable with catching the ball over either shoulder. And didn't matter how tired he got, because I told him, listen, I was just throwing the ball, so we can do this until I get tired. And his funny thing was, he was like, okay, he couldn't let me know he was tired. So we both waited for mom, because my mom was getting
Exactly.
tired, waited for mom to
No.
call us in the house. But he would go out there the whole time,
That's right. I'd have
every
to bring
day.
all the children in the house.
Yeah.
Because it was
So
the
it
lights
was-
were on and it was time for all the kids
To
to come
go
to
in.
bed. He actually took a year off of between high school and Pop Warner, where he didn't want to do any football. And that's his year that he did wrestling. He went a totally different area. And he did that because he didn't see that the kids on the team cared about it as much as he did. And that was very frustrating. So we spent quite a few conversations letting him know that everybody's not going to always have that passion you have. Everybody's going to not always have that drive that you have. So you have to understand that and respect that and just do it for yourself. You can't do it for anybody else.
My wrestling days were numbered, but I definitely enjoyed them. Was #1 in the state for a while in middle school, and I absolutely loved to wrestle, but had to give that up to further pursue my football dreams, I guess you could say.
JC too, and his attitude about the other kids, and he didn't have a cockiness, but he
never
knew
that.
that he wanted to see where football could take him. So he wanted to go out and play amongst the better kids. And since we were in a small city, we still live there obviously, but in a small city, that wasn't possible except through camp. So we started taking him to summer camp. After his freshman year, he went to camp every year.
My dad always made me go to these camps in the summertime, which I kind of hated because summertime was the only free time I had to hang out with my friends and whatnot, but yet I was spending it in other cities and other states trying to play football. So did they help out? In some ways, did they help out? And I think in some ways they hurt, just because it kind of made me and my father's relationship more business-like rather than a personal one, and one that was more loving. So I kind of looked at it that way, as more so he's the coach and I'm the player instead of he's the father and I'm the son.
He got better, and as it turns out,
got
he ended
motivation.
up getting some good
That's
motivation
when he
from
met
it.
Daryl Sproles for the first time.
Yeah.
He was at a camp and Daryl Sproles came.
San Diego.
And he told him, he said, you got talent. Don't let anybody tell you you can't.
Yeah, because they are about
And
the
I
same
thought,
height.
I thought it was amazing. I said, this is guy, he's playing in the NFL. He just told JC, don't let people set your limits for you. Nobody gets to do that.
I get that comparison a lot. Everybody always asks or tells me that I remind them of Darren Sproles, and I always tell them, well, I got to talk to him for a little bit, and he just let me know that it is hard just being this small and playing such a violent game, but if you work hard enough, you can shock a lot of people, and I feel as though I put in a lot of work to put myself in the best situations to surprise people with how talented I am and gifted I am. But I just appreciated somebody just taking the time out just to talk to me, and some guy that obviously was an NFL player talking to a little kid from Yuma, Arizona. You know, it meant a lot. A lot of frustration, a lot of times crying in my room, a lot of times being mad at my parents for making me 5'5", you know, the tallest I was, because we go to amusement parks and I couldn't get on any of the rides, while my brother, my dad, my mom, they were always on the rides, so I had to sit outside the fence and watch them. I think that's probably the big reason why I don't like amusement parks to this day, to where I don't go anymore. It's just because back then I just never could get on any rides, and it was always annoying that I had to get on like the little kiddie rides with the training wheels and everything on them. So you know, you got picked on a lot. Just I was one of the only black guys in my school. I had a funny speech, still have a funny speech, with short, gap teeth, curly hair and whatnot. So it was definitely hard growing up, just being like the outcast and outside. So I think that's why I really held on to football, because it was something that I knew once I played, I really wasn't going to get made fun of too much, because I had some talent at it. So definitely used that as a crutch to lean on whenever I was getting picked on.
We are the runts of the litter, okay?
Yeah.
If you see JC's baby brother,
Yeah,
he
he's gonna
takes
be
after
tall.
my dad, his brother, uncles.
Yeah.
We're the runts of the litter. Unfortunately, JC got our genetics. Okay.
And JC has always been the smallest kid on the team.
But we gave him good thighs. He can really
Yeah,
run.
and-
Okay. He got those right here.
They used to always frustrate him. He was never the biggest kid out there. He was always one of the fastest, but never the biggest. And I always told him, I said, JC, think about it. For the position you play, that's an advantage. I said, bottom line is,
I always say that.
the offensive linemen are hiding you. Defensive linemen will look around, where's he at, where's he at? As long as you just hit the hole and go, they're gonna be reading the back of your jersey. And that's the way it's always been. It's hard to find him, so everybody hesitates for a second. And that's all he needs a lot of times. And he hits the hole and he goes. He's done a lot of squatting, and he actually, on tape, he squatted 600 pounds.
I played just because I truly just enjoyed what football brought. And it wasn't necessarily just a scoring touchdown. It was more so just feeling the love between teammates and the excitement that you can give to somebody by throwing a touchdown pass to them or blocking for them, or just being around that love is what I really held on to. And that's why I think I played.
Love has always been central in JC's life, as his mother, Rachel, raised him for the first few years of his life as a single parent. By the time JC was 5, though, his mother married Cedric Baker. Cedric would legally become JC's father. Once becoming a family, it would further extend the connection with the military, as Cedric was in the Marine Corps while Rachel was in the Army. However, shortly after JC returned to football after a brief wrestling stint, his family moved off the safety of the military base and into a new realm unknown to JC.
Once we moved off the base is when I saw more freedom. I kind of saw how kids lived outside the base, and it's a whole new world pretty much, because on base you're just always surrounded by these fences and these guard towers and whatnot, so you don't really, get the chance to go out and live like a kid. So when we moved off base, when I finally got my car and whatnot, and that's when I kind of got into, the trouble that kids get into. So, but I think it was a good learning experience. Got to meet more people and just enjoy the simple life and whatnot. I had to rely on people that, I didn't build the relationships with that I had in the past, because, playing football, I developed great friendships with guys, and then I ended up moving schools and leaving those guys behind and whatnot, and we had to go in different districts. And that was before the social media and the cell phone, craze was up. So it wasn't, go on Twitter and say, hey, come over, or go on Facebook. It was, call my house and maybe my mama let me talk on the phone for a couple minutes. So it was definitely a change, and it's one of those things where I kind of regret that I had to move schools, because I felt like I lost a lot of good friends that I could have helped along the way, maybe kept them out of trouble. They could have kept me out of trouble. So I think looking back on it, that was a turning point for real. The average skipping school, talking back to teachers, the little stuff. Later on is when I got more into the high school scenes, when I really got into the trouble, when I was like a sophomore on varsity, the only sophomore on varsity. So I was hanging out with juniors and seniors who had cars, had the girls, had the party scene and whatnot. So, I was just trying to fit in with them and do what they did. So that was later on was when I got into the true trouble. I think that I did an all right job at making a name for myself as a freshman. I had a couple of the seniors and whatnot always want to pick on me, because I was always avoiding contact in practice and whatnot. And because I was the smallest guy out there, I wasn't trying to take anybody head on and not trying to end my career as a freshman. So I was picked on quite a bit, but I think that my style of play earned the respect later on.
At the time, we had a coach, his name is Coach Stallworth. He actually transferred to another school away from Yuma. He went to private school, but JC played in the 9th grade when he was the head coach for varsity. Well, the next year he transferred over, so JC didn't get a chance to play for him.
He
so
tried to get JC to go.
Yeah,
really
and there was a
bad.
shakeup where they had 2 or 3 other coaches come in, and finally we got a coach that settled in. And for the last 2 years of high school, JC did great.
I don't think I really started playing well, or really thought I had a chance at playing at the next level, until my junior year. And I scored, I think it was 6 touchdowns in the first game. And that was like the breakout moment in high school where I had, and everybody kind of started taking notice within the state. But I was never, ever really that good. And I look back on it and I was wondering, like, man, why didn't I get the D1 scholarships everybody else is getting? And I look at tape, I was like, I really wasn't that good. I wasn't that fast, wasn't that strong. Was very raw, I guess you could say. I had a lot of potential, but the fundamentals were there, but nothing spectacular that would, pop off the screen.
His senior year in high school had a lot of health issues, and even for his very last game of the season, I was actually in the hospital trying to watch the game from my hospital bed. And it was the Yuma-Kofa game that I told you about, the huge rivalry game. So it was huge because they had lost on their 100th year. They had lost the year before, and so this was the 101 year, and it was his senior year, and I couldn't be there.
Yuma-Kofa, the biggest game that you can ever play in as a kid growing up in Yuma, Arizona. And it was their 50th year anniversary, and we had lost in the previous 3 years, so I was looking forward to getting the revenge back from the year before when they spoiled our 100th year. And I just remember the atmosphere was ridiculous that night. And that was like the first game my mom had ever missed, ever in life, in any sporting event, any academic event. So knowing she was watching on the television screen, it did hurt because I've always been able to look in the stands and see my mom there. And I knew that I had to win the game for her because she would have been killing herself and kicking herself up in there in the hospital bed knowing that she wasn't on the field with me. So I knew that to give her comfort and peace of mind that I had to play my heart out, and which I did.
And I have never ever missed a game. I don't miss any of my kids' functions ever. And so that was very hard.
I don't think I got tired. That's probably the only game I ever played where I truly was like, I'm all right. I think I can play every snap and be all right, both sides of the ball and be all right, and end up getting the win.
Who got the game ball?
My mom. My mom. We actually had signed it for her and gave it to her at the hospital and whatnot, and that was a cool moment. That was a cool moment.
How what was kind of spurring from her when she saw you come in the door? Instead of going anywhere else, like I mentioned, like a party. What kind of emotions did you see out of her when you?
She was definitely excited. She was happy, and tears rolling out her eyes and made me start crying as well. But just letting her know that I had taken care of business for her, and let her know that she can finally go to rest, because I don't think she had taken any pain medicine or any type of sedation, so she could be away for the game. And she was kicking and screaming the whole time, so just finally give her that and let her know everything was all right was nice. A couple of my coaches, I think they stopped by later on that night, and I had some family members, a couple teammates come by, and it was just a great experience because you knew how much people finally cared about you, and not just you, but your family, people that were close to you. So just having that atmosphere for my mom, for me, I was all right. Just seeing my mom knowing she was all right, I was fine. But for her, I think that was the best moment.
J.C. Baker ran for 2,211 yards, scored 39 total touchdowns, while averaging 8 yards per carry in 2 seasons on varsity with the Yuma High Criminals. Yet Baker was only ranked 111th in Arizona and 8,317th nationally as a running back.
I didn't receive a single offer. A lot of preferred walk-ons, but nothing with money attached to it. And it was very frustrating because my whole life everybody's been telling me how great I was and how I was going to play Division I football and how I was going to go into the NFL. But here I am my senior year, and I'm looking around the country at guys that I'm statistically better than have offers that I'm not receiving. So it was very frustrating because I didn't know the process of getting recruited. I didn't know how to talk to coaches. I didn't know how to reach out to them to, get my tape out there to them. So I was sitting back just waiting, and that was my downfall. Why I probably didn't get recruited was because I just was unaware of how to approach the situation.
We play in a small city of Yuma. So many high schools, we are flyover country for the scouts. They're on their way to Phoenix, they're on their way to San Diego, on the way to LA to see the bigger, stronger kids play. So they fly over Yuma, and you have to really do something to get them to come and see you guys down in Yuma. Well, he didn't get a lot of offers from major colleges coming out of high school.
It was a disappointment that he felt that he had given to his family and friends. That's what got him the most, because everybody saw him as J.C. Baker, the touchdown maker. They didn't see him as J.C. Baker, the awesome son, the awesome brother, the awesome cousin, nephew. They didn't see him as any of that. Only we as his family. He didn't know what direction he was going to be because he'd just been identified as the football player. And I think that's one of the things that he's really worked on, that people see him as something other than a football player. I am not, his favorite thing is, I am not a dumb jock. That is not me. I am not a dumb jock.
You know, you grow up and everybody's always talking about, okay, you go to school, you don't do drugs, you don't drink, you'll be successful in life, you'll be all right. Well, I did those things, and here I am now, along with no scholarship offers, no football, no more school, and pretty much no more friends, because everybody kind of abandoned me once they figured out was they going to continue playing football. So that little money train that they were riding was now, you know, making this final stop at my senior year. So that's when I was like, well, all right, well, that little, you know, whole adage of, you know, if you don't drink, you'll be all right in life, kind of went away. So I said, let me go try to find a new crowd to hang out with, some guys that I can fit in with. And that's when the drinking, you know, the prescription drug abuse started. And that was right after high school. It's when the first time I ever drank even an ounce of alcohol or did any type of drugs was right when I graduated. So that summer, 2010, it's a very long, long summer.
I think the bigger disappointment, he felt like he let his family down, or his friends down, or his fans, all the other coaches that had come before him, and teachers, because for the city of Yuma, JC was not a kid that had any negativity that followed him. You know, he had great grades in school. He was a good student. He, you know, went to church. He was respectful of adults.
Didn't have a rap sheet.
No rap sheets. No, I'm not a grandmama yet.
Yeah,
although
no
I'm ready for that in about 2 more years. Hint, hint, all my kids. But anyway, so he felt like he had let people down. I wouldn't say it was, he was angry at the recruiting process. He was more disappointed. He felt like he had let everybody down. And so that was hard for him.
Yeah, it was definitely different because everybody was, you know, always counting on me to being the one that was going to get out. But here I am, the only one that's staying behind while everybody else is at, you know, University of Arizona, Arizona State University, or either Northern Arizona. So I didn't really know anybody that was going to go to community college that was in the city, because you're looked down upon if you go to the community college back home. Why is that? I have no idea. They just look down as you're either poor or dumb or just not doing anything with your life. So people kind of avoid going to that community college just for those reasons, just so they don't want to get picked on and whatnot. So for me going there, obviously I had to humble myself because I was going to go there, so I couldn't look down on it as I've had in the past as well. So it was definitely different. The lowest I ever hit was probably the night that I tried to commit suicide driving my car off the road. That was probably the lowest that I've ever been. I guess kind of backtrack on it. That the drug abuse and alcohol, just kind of led me down some wrong paths, where I was stealing money from my mom's wallet to, afford my habit. The mother that gave me everything in life, and here I am taking money from my wallet just to support this habit that I have. Ended up bumping heads with my dad a lot during that time, to where, I ended up getting kicked out of the house. So now I'm living in my car some nights, living on a park bench, sneaking back in the house when I couldn't get any place to stay. So I remember reaching out to somebody, a close friend of mine back in high school, and asking him just to hang out, just to talk, because I was going through some things. And I remember that night calling him. He's not picking up. And like 2-3 hours later, he finally answered. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm with a girl, man. We'll hang out tomorrow." And that's when I knew. I was like, man, here I am trying to reach out, and it's not working. So, might as well just, maybe if I'm not here anymore, somebody will finally care. And driving down the interstate, picking up speed, just turn down the music, and surprisingly, my phone is never, ever on any type of ringer. It's always on silent. So when I was driving, it's probably the loudest I ever heard my phone, and it's going off crazy. And I'm thinking in my head, who could this be? I don't really care at this moment, because here I am waiting for this bridge that I know if I take it off, everything will be fine, it'll be done with. So I just decided to look at it, and This happens to be my little brother. And, you know, I answer it, and he just told me, you know, that he missed me and that he wanted me to come home. And that was it for me. Once I heard that, I finally realized that all these years I was being selfish, just thinking about myself. And I have a younger brother who all he wants for me is to do is just come home. And 'cause I remember, like, I was always sneaking out of the house. And I always just tell him, oh, I'll be right back, be right back, be right back. 'Cause I never want to tell him, oh, I'm going to go to this party, I'm about to go drink or anything. I always just tell him, you know, hey, I'll be right back, I'll be all right back. And he'd wait up 2, 3 in the morning. I'm still not home. I'd come back, and then he'd wake up because he's always in my bed and whatnot. So for him to call me, you know, in the middle of the night, when he could have been watching cartoons, when he could have been, you know, eating a bowl of cereal or going to sleep, he took the time out just to call me and let me know he missed me, he loved me, he wanted me to come home. So rock bottom, and then that was the lowest part I've ever been. I don't think that I saw it as a sign from God. I just saw it as finally somebody out here finally cared about me. You know, I've been hearing since I was 7 years old, since I first played the football, that was the greatest thing on earth because I was talented at football. But as soon as that went away, all my friends went away, you know, all the girls went away, all the attention went away. So for him just to not care about me playing football or not care about my current state of being addicted to all these drugs and alcohol, just to let me know that he still loved me through everything, you know, that meant the world to me. We've always been close. We've always had a father-son type relationship. You know, I look at him as like my actual son because, you know, his dad was, not my dad, obviously, was in California. He was working in California, so going through high school and whatnot, he was over there. So my mom always told me that, you know, your little brother's gonna be watching you, your every step. So you have to do everything correct because you take one misstep, his life will be over. He'll follow you. So I always made sure that he did his homework, did his chores, never talked back to my mom, that my mom didn't have to worry about trying to raise him, that I would be the one to do that. So it's even grown even more. He's even asked me to come out here and live with me, and, you know, I feel bad that I wasn't able to get him out here to live with me because, you know, I'm not going to be here that much longer. So, but we definitely have a father-son relationship. I love him to death. I'd do anything for him.
His biggest thing is he wants to be an example for his younger brother, and who's 15 now. So he knew he had to make sure he got his life right. He was on the straight and narrow, and he can do something that everybody can look back and be proud of, especially his youngest brother, Cedric. He's 15, and JC is his hero, plain and simple. So having those things that you know you're being monitored on, it's good. It's good positive pressure. People say, well, you know, you don't like pressure too much. You need pressure. There's good pressure, there's bad pressure. This is positive pressure because he knows he's being watched really closely by his younger sibling. And another thing, too, he has a little buddy. His name is Ian Chavez back in Yuma. And they Facebook each other. And every time we come down, we get something for him, gear him up with Western Illinois University equipment. Because the bottom line is this kid runs the ball just like JC. He's 12 years old now. And every chance he gets, he wants JC to look at some of his plays to show him how he can improve because that's his idol. So JC knows he's got a lot of the younger kids in Yuma looking up at him too and saying, hey, we can go the same route he went and try to do something positive away from Yuma.
With the support of his brother, Cedric Jr., JC was able to get back to playing football at the community college level at Arizona Western in his hometown of Yuma, where he would play for the next 2 years.
I didn't make any noise whatsoever on the junior college level. I was the only guy from the city of Yuma to be on the team. And matter of fact, probably one of two that was from the state of Arizona because they just didn't recruit in-state. They just didn't believe that Arizona football was football at all, so they didn't look in-state to recruit anybody. So I had a lot of uphill battles just trying to come back from sitting out for a year and, you know, trying to overcome all the abuse, the drugs and whatnot. So that was definitely hard, but I think my talent increased just because the level of competition increased. So I was playing against guys that were coming from, you know, all these SEC, Pac-12 schools and, you know, Big Ten schools. And now here I am, a kid from Yuma, Arizona, small town school, or small town city, that I had to, you know, compete with these guys in order to earn some money because I knew that I wanted to go to school, and the only reason why I was playing football was just to afford school, just so I can, you know, make my way so I can afford the tuition and whatnot. So I don't think I did that great. I think I rushed for less than 1,000 yards in 2 years I was there, less than 10 touchdowns, I believe, something around that. Wasn't that great at all. I went in my sophomore year just trying to stay healthy so I can go on to Texas Tech, because that's where I received my scholarship from offer in the springtime after my spring semester. So I'm just going to the fall just trying to stay healthy, and you're going to be on your way, you know, the Big 12. So, and then when the coaching change happened and Tommy Tuberville left, and so goes my scholarship. So now I'm over here trying to backtrack, trying to figure out, okay, well, now since that school's gone, what's next? Because that was the only school that had offered me, and once they offered, I was off. I didn't want anybody else. I didn't care. I just wanted somebody, and then that was the first person. So I said, I'm there. And then once that officer left, I was just scrambling, in scramble mode. Man, I had graduated, played in my last little bowl game, was done, sitting on the couch. It was just, okay, I'll give it one semester of, I'll just send my tape out to every single school out there. And that's what I did. Got an email draft together that I'd send the same email to every single school, same highlight tape, and I was copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, and I did that day in and day out.
The two that I know of particular was Montana, the Grizzlies. The coach actually called me and spoke to me personally and said that they wanted to offer him. And UNLV's coach also.
And Oregon came down and saw him down there.
Oregon State was, yeah. But it was one of those things where until, and we've learned this as coaches speak, until they slide the paper across the table and say, this is the scholarship we're offering you, it's just coaches speak. So we did hear from some of the major schools, but it wasn't concrete.
Another piece to that is, I think that's when JC lost trust in coaching staffs. Yeah. Because since we have been through the recruiting process, some of the things that have come to light have been a little bit disheartening for me. Because I tell JC to trust your elders. You always respect your coaches, your teachers, you know, the older folks. And even if you would go out to Illinois State's website.
Yes, they said they offered them.
They say they offered them.
On their website.
I can't, they put it on that public medium that they offered. Did they ever call my house? I don't know. Did they contact his coaches? We'll never know. We do know that several coaches did contact his coaches in high school as well as at AWC, and those offer letters never came to JC. Georgia State wanted him as well. By the time we found out about it, they said, well, your coach told us you didn't want to come. You know, so JC has lost a lot of trust and faith.
I was talking to schools here and there, but no one would want to pull the trigger because they just didn't understand why I wasn't getting any offers. My tape looked great, my transcripts were great, so everybody kept thinking that I had some, I guess, problems with attitude and not listening to coaches. I had discipline problems, which wasn't the case. It was just an undersized running back from a small town.
And on the scouting reports, they're going to list height, weight, speed, and everything like that. So we can never be sure, but I'm sure some of the scouts
oh yeah, without a doubt,
put it down as a negative. And that's why you like to see it when you have other colleges, other scouts, other people at the other level that are looking at it now and saying, no, this is positive. I can take this young man as he is, and I can design plays that will work for him, that will help the team. You didn't have that in the past, and it's happening more and more now. So that's a good thing to see, a great trend to see, because it gives him hope once again that people won't just look at him and judge him based on his height and weight, because he's maximized his talents for that height and that weight, and he's done very well. So he wants to keep that going. So we're not sure if they downgraded him, but more than likely some did downgrade him because of his height and his weight, and you know,
but the
thankfully
thing
that's
is, there
changing.
are people that are smarter that, you know, there are plenty of guys, running backs, that have the height, have the weight, but they don't have the talent.
And I actually didn't talk to or get contacted by Western Illinois till a little bit right before signing day in February. And Coach Ward had my defense coordinator call me up. And what's funny about that call is I don't really have a great relationship with my past school, my head coach. I still haven't heard from him to this day. So you kind of can tell you the relationship that we have, that, you know, I haven't talked to him in 2 years, but here I am at Western Illinois, and I haven't got a congrats on getting a scholarship. So if Coach Ward didn't have my defensive coordinator call me and he had my head coach call me, I wouldn't be here, because I would never have picked up the phone. There was a comment made about my mother by him that I didn't appreciate. So we just never saw eye to eye. Plus I was from Arizona and he didn't think we could play, and I didn't believe that. And I was more of a money move. He knew having me on the team would boost attendance and boost, you know, the image of his program. You know, I guess I have a kind of a good smile. I guess that's what I hear. So that's what it was. I was more of an image booster than looked at as a player. So that's how I was treated. I was treated kind of as an object, not as a person. I'll tell you one story. One of my receivers coach, actually my strength and conditioning coach when I go home, he called me up one time during that spring when I was at the house, asked me why I wasn't answering the phone calls from these coaches. And I said, Coach, I haven't gotten a single call. And he figured out that my head coach was giving out the wrong cell phone number to these coaches that were calling for me. So here it is, you know, a guy that I had to put my trust in for 2 years and had to lean on him, was giving out the wrong cell phone number, and, you know, couldn't drive 5 minutes to my house to let me know.
One of the coaches at AWC, one of the very few coaches that Coach Martin, he called and said, hey, I really know this coach, Coach Crutchley, and I trust him, and I trust him. Will you come out here and meet him?
JC was a guy that wasn't heavily recruited. You know, he was a backup to a superstar guy that I think ended up at OU, and so he didn't get a ton of touches. Coach Ward heard about him and found him down in his area up in Arizona and did a great job recruiting him. But Steve Crutchley, our running backs coach, he's had a knack for finding guys that, you know, there's a little something, and he sees it. So when he liked JC, and I'd only worked with Steve shortly, but he does a great job getting the most out of every one of our running backs.
The first time I got a chance to meet JC, you know, I was there in the spring, and I'd met him at his junior college, and I mean, he walked in, just lit up the room, just the same way he does now. I mean, just incredibly confident, you know, fantastic, just looking, athletic looking guy, and you know, he came in very confident, not cocky, just self-assured, and just with his personality, it's just, you know, he lights up the room. Whenever you meet a guy like that, you know, for the first time, you're hoping that, hey, he's gonna be as good a player he is a person, and you know, he definitely was.
It's kind of different. I was kind of on my guard because I really don't trust a lot of people. So obviously, I knew he wasn't coming in and telling me that I was the worst player ever. He was going to tell me whatever I needed to hear to get me here. So I kind of just let it come in one ear and went out the other one, and. He said that he wasn't even going to offer me at the moment because they had to offer out to a running back in high school, but they just weren't sure if he was going to be able to qualify to come into Western Illinois. So he just wanted to let me know that they were interested, and if he doesn't qualify, that they'll be in contact with me. So I ain't talked to Coach Ward from February all until June. So I went from February to June, not even hearing from Western Illinois.
Through the summer, we still didn't have a couple of tailbacks. We wanted to get a couple guys, and it ended up late, ended up getting JC to commit right before the second session of summer school in July, but we couldn't get him here to work out. So I just had a couple of phone conversations with him. Coach Ward was a point man on that, but so I didn't know a whole lot about him. He wasn't on Twitter, wasn't on Facebook, so I didn't know a whole lot about him. Seemed pretty quiet at the time. He didn't have a huge year. I think he had 450 yards rushing, but the plays that he did have were exciting, and you could see on film that he had great balance. I'd be lying to you if I thought that he was going to turn out as well as he did for us.
When it happened so quick that when they contacted me in June, because I had to get all my transcripts over here and see if I was eligible, And we didn't talk about football whatsoever. It was all school related. It was, okay, how many credits can we get transferred, and what program do you want to get into, and okay, how can we get you into that program? So it was more so just academically and trying to get me moved out here. Football was the last thing that we talked about. And I mean, I didn't even know the playbook that we ran until the first day I got here and saw the playbook. So I didn't know about playing time. I didn't care about playing time. I didn't care about the offense we ran. I just wanted to get back to school because I was tired of being on my mom's couch. That's what I respected the most out of Coach Crutchley and Coach Ward, was the fact that they took the time out to just to get to know me as a person and just to figure out, what I wanted to do in my career outside of football. And that's what drew me into them and drew me into this program, because I saw that, they took the little time out. Like Coach Crutchley called me on 4th of July. I'll never forget it. Just asked me how I was doing and what I was going to do for the 4th and what I was going to do with my family. And that was just something that you didn't get at the junior college level. My head coach never once called me on my birthday or Christmas or anything. So for a guy that never even met me, never even saw me, never played it down for him just to take a little time out, just to say, happy 4th of July, that meant more than any amount of playing time he could have promised me or any amount of NFL prospect things he could have offered me. So that's what drew me into here. I was definitely excited. My parents didn't believe it until they saw the papers. I was kind of laid back with it. My dad wanted to take a million pictures and wanted to record the whole entire thing, and I'm a camera shy, so for him just being in my face with a camera was kind of like, Dad, okay, it's all right.
Finally, because he actually signed late. It was July, and we drove from Yuma to here to get his car here and set him up here. And the first day he came in, they actually gave him a book. It was a playbook. Here's your helmet, and he met all the coaches, and it went from there. That's how late he came to the university. But we were just glad to hear from somebody, because it was really late in the process. I thought it was great, because obviously I did 22 years in the Marine Corps. I said, this is perfect. It's got to be a sign that now he's a Leatherneck, just like I was. And remember, he went to Yuma High, like she was saying, and they had the usual mascot named Criminal. Yep. And now the only school that's authorized by the Department of the Navy to use the Leatherneck symbol at their school, he gets an offer to go there. So it's perfect. And I'm glad he's here.
They saw how much work I was putting in the spring, and they saw where I went down, the road I went down when I didn't have football. So just for me, all this hard work finally paying off, I think that was the best feeling for them.
Coming from small town Yuma, Arizona, JC wasn't sure what to expect, as he never made a visit to Macomb, Illinois, where Western Illinois University is located.
Is this it? Is this the downtown area, or is there another place? Is this where just the campus is located? I actually knew it was kind of a small area just because of how many people they said that lived here. And then as I think the first like 2 seconds I was in here, somebody chased us down in their car just because we had Arizona license plates, and they knew somebody in California, and they just wanted to say hi. And that kind of let me know that, man, this city is going to be a loving city. So from that aspect, I already had a smile on my face. But I don't think I was ever disappointed in the city and whatnot, just what it had to offer. I've come from a small town, so I wasn't looking for the big city lights or anything like that. I think that this area suits me. It's laid back, it's reserved. People care about each other. They, take the extra time to do what they can for each other. So that's what I enjoy.
I remember his first day, because he didn't come on a recruiting visit. I remember him reporting to camp, and the first time I met him was in their football office. And when he got here, I could see the excitement, the life in his eyes, and that was cool. And I was really excited about coaching him just because of the energy that he brings as a human being. He's just fun to be around, and our guys like him, and he elevates the guys around him because of the energy that he brings.
Well, we knew he was going to be little, and we have a little saying: the littler you are, the faster you got to be. So he's really hard to tackle. So we were really excited about the prospect of him coming over and being able to add to our offense and do a lot of things that we didn't have at the time, available to us from a scheme standpoint, and getting the ball out to a guy like that.
So when I met JC, I was like, man, this guy's kind of small. I've had some more thoroughbred, big horse running backs at the places I'd been, and so there was some hesitations out of it. But when you watch him make 7 guys miss on a play and some of that jitterbug stuff he does, you know, you tend to like him a lot more as an O-line coach.
When he finally broke out of his shells, we do on-deck time. And when you introduce yourself to the team, you say a little, you know, say something inspirational to the team, and his on deck was dynamite.
I know that the attention span for, you know, guys this age isn't very long, and for you to be able to stand up in front of your teammates, from your coaches, the athletic staff, training staff, they have to listen to what you say, whether they like it or not. You have a moment to where they have to sit there and listen to what you say. So I was praying about it. I didn't know what to say. You know, I was a new guy, just kind of wanted to wrap up everything that I had been through and what got me to this point. So I think that was, I knew that I needed to tell my story just because somebody else could have been going through it. Somebody else might have already gone through it. Somebody they know could have gone through it. And I didn't want them to feel embarrassed. You know, me being addicted to drugs and whatnot, or committing suicide, wanting to commit suicide, isn't something to be embarrassed about or ashamed of. That's something that can happen to anyone. And I don't want to hide from it because it's very real. So I wanted to bring light to it. This is going to be a team that, you know, I'm sacrificing my body for day in and day out, that I'm giving all my time to. Then they need to know where I came from and what I believe in. And so I just allowed God to take control of my tongue, and I said, you know, you just say what you want to say.
And no one really knew what they were getting from JC until he did his on deck during fall camp or summer camp, you know, his first year here. And it was dynamite. He told us his whole story and the ups and downs he'd experienced in his life. And you know, once he was done with that, everybody already felt like they knew him. And I mean, it was a long on deck. It took about 10 minutes, but it was awesome. He told it with passion, and you know, everybody knew him from that moment on. And everybody embraced him, and he embraced everybody. And you know, he's a true leatherneck.
Anytime a person like that goes through an experience like that in their life, it's definitely something, you know, makes you look twice about yours. And you know, me coming from a big family and the youngest of 5, me and JC, you know, just the way that he would, you know, talk about what happened in his life and the problems that he had and the stuff that he went through, I immediately went up to him and I was like, man, like, you made me cry, because he said that his younger brother gave him a call, and you know, me being the younger brother of my family, you know, I know that my family's so strong and so close to each other. You know, and he told me that his younger brother gave him a call right before, you know, and you know, said like, hey JC, where you at? Like, I miss you. And then I literally, like that day after I told him, and I told him that I called up all my siblings and, you know, my 3 brothers and my sister, and, you know, just telling them that I love them and stuff like that. I mean, you know, you never really know what someone's going through, and you never really know how, you know, people can react to things in their life. And I tell JC all the time, I'm always here for him, and always, you know, if he calls me at 3 in the morning, I'm going to answer it, and if I don't, I'll call him back at 3:02. So, I mean, he's just one of those guys that I literally would do anything for.
My first friend that I made on campus probably had been my roommate, Fred Solomon. He was my roommate, and he was a junior college guy as well. And I actually knew some of the guys he played in high school with. They played at my junior college, so we had an instant connection right there. And but I think the next one was Trenton. Trenton had to been like the next guy that I actually got really close to, and our relationship has taken off from there.
Him and Trenton actually were both later rivals. He came from Cincinnati Bearcats, so they both got to camp about the same time, and it's just unusual because they are now the best of friends. That's a lifelong friendship they've got now.
I knew a little bit about Trenton just around the camp time. Everybody kept talking about how we were going to be this great team because we had this transfer from Cincy. So I was looking, okay, well, this team wasn't producing much points, so now that we got a transfer quarterback from Cincinnati, he's got to be kind of good.
When he first got here, I was the same way. I mean, me and him are both really shy when we're in front of people in like a large group, and you know, just the way that he is, you know, he's one of those people who'll kind of be off in the corner at first if you don't really know him, and then, but now he's just one of those guys who's always, you know, the first one to talk, you know, just trying to, you know, make everyone get some juice, as he always says. He's always saying, I got that juice. So, you know, he's one of those guys that, you know, gets everyone going, and, you know, one of those people who just is very enthusiastic about life.
Didn't really get to talk to him or, you know, get a relationship with him on the football field just because he was a starter and I was like taking reps with the redshirt freshmen. So we didn't start building our relationship till probably midway through the season.
Well, first we didn't connect really like right away, but And then it got later on in the season, and we were in the backfield a lot with each other, just going through practices and both just kind of getting reps at the same time, and you know, just getting to be with each other more and more often. You know, we definitely started connecting, and you know, just him being back there in the backfield with me all the time, it was just one of those things where we just kind of clicked.
And it was just a trust thing that we had with each other. And the reason why we clicked so much was, I believe, is our upbringing. Our parents raised us in similar fashion, so we see eye to eye on a lot of things. And even when we don't see eye to eye on things, we can appreciate each other's different views and whatnot. So, you know, it's definitely older brother, little brother, smaller brother, bigger brother type thing. So,
So are you the older brother then? Or?
I'm definitely the older brother, but I'm also at the same time the smaller brother. So it's kind of crazy. I never realized how tall he is until he stands close to me. And then I have to tell him, like, you got to kind of back up, because I mean, you're 6'5", and I just feel like you're just towering over me right now, and I feel like you can do some pretty harm to me. So you might have to back up a little bit, but I rely on him so much. I lean on him. Any time of the day, I know I can call him, and he'll pick up the phone. And there's been times 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, I just want somebody to talk to. Somebody go to McDonald's with, somebody just to come over to the room or anything. And, you know, he's always, oh, you all right? Are you okay? So, you know, definitely lean on him. He's definitely been my rock here.
Nah, me and JC are best friends. It's like, that's my brother. I literally see him as, you know, one of my older brothers, and you know, like I said before, I would do anything for that kid, and that's what every time he's hurting, I'm hurting, and you know, I can just look at him, and if he's having a bad day, I'll immediately ask him, like, what's going on. And I called him last night, and you know, I just made him laugh, and just one of those things where I just, you know, I feel like I got to take care of him, you know, and you know, that's my brother, so, you know, if he's hurting, I'm hurting.
When you come into a new environment, you don't know what to expect. I wasn't homesick, never was homesick. I knew that the people that I left behind, they knew why I was out here, and I was looking forward to a new journey and whatnot. So I have trust issues with people. I don't trust very easily. I can smile and we can have, you know, a mutual and we'd be all right, but I won't trust you, and I won't lean on you, and I won't rely on you for anything. But I realized that here it allowed me to see that you can trust people and you can rely on people, and that's what I loved the most, was that the fact that, you know, I was at a program before where I didn't trust a single person I came in contact with, and I couldn't rely on them because, you know, they did me, I guess you could say, wrong, and this program hasn't done that.
Although Trenton and JC created a friendship quickly, even before they met, they had another connection. The head coach from Texas Tech, Tommy Tuberville, who recruited JC, became the coach at Cincinnati in December of 2012. The year he became the coach there was the same year Trenton Norvell decided to transfer from Cincinnati to another school, which ended up being Western Illinois. Furthering the coaching connection with Baker and WIU, Bobby Hauck, the coach at UNLV, was scheduled to play Western on Week 4 of the 2013 season, Baker's first with the Leathernecks.
When they met on the 50-yard line, I saw him shaking JC's hand and saying something. And they stood there for about 30 seconds and spoke. And it turns out he was telling JC, hey, I'm sorry it didn't work out for you coming here. We really would love to have you come. But it was the thing with the scholarship money ran out. He said, but you are great to watch on film. So keep going and good luck. And I thought that was great, the way they got a chance to talk at the end of the game.
I know that I had the potential, had the ability to rush for many yards, but when I got here, that wasn't what I wanted to do. I just wanted to get my education and just wanted to pay for school. And so I think stuff like that is neat for the program, neat for the offensive line, neat for the receivers that block me, tight ends, quarterbacks, neat for the community that they have somebody performing well. My family, they can, you know, my dad's like a little shrine of me in his office, and he can brag about me all he wants. So for me personally, I don't mind it. It's not something I look forward to or look like, oh, that's what defines me. I feel like that's just cool for other people to look at.
I have to be the first one to tell you, I didn't know how significant 1,000 yards was. I know what 4.0 means. I know what. I had no idea that was significant, to be totally honest. All I know is he played a bunch of games, ran a bunch of yards, and he didn't get hurt.
In the spring of 2014, just a few months of being with the team, Baker was named a captain by his teammates.
for them to see me as a guy that they can lean on and a guy that they can trust to lead us in the right direction, it meant a lot to me. And something crazy, because I've been a team captain in high school, I'm a junior college, and here. So even though I've been with people for a short amount of times, I've always been in a position where I've been elected captain, and I just think that it's just because I love people, and I don't put myself before them. You know, I always want them to do the best they can, and I'll take the time out whenever they need me to, you know, go over the playbook or just have somebody over to watch TV with. So that's a neat thing. I definitely do appreciate that, and that makes me feel good.
And see, that's the part that was amazing to me, because I didn't know how they chose captains. But he told me it wasn't the coaches that had chosen, it was the team that chose the captains. So that meant that everybody that's on a team with them felt he was a voice that they would be willing to listen to. So I said, that's amazing. And he took it as that, and he has taken it as that the whole time. Is he understands when things need to be said. As a captain, he needs to be one of the guys that are saying it, because the team has said, we believe in you, we're ready to follow you. So I did not know how the captains were picked until he told us and explained it. And I said, wow, that's really good, that your teammates believe in you enough to say, we want you to be one of the 4 captains. So it was really good to hear. And that was a lot of hard work he had put in during the spring. He had gotten together with Trenton and all these other guys and said, listen, you know, we want to have a solid season, so it starts now. Let's put the work in and make it happen. And that's what they've done ever since.
He deserved to be a captain completely. I mean, just the way that everyone looks at him on the team, and everyone knows that he's the guy. And I feel like, you know, just about the work that he puts into everything that he does, and not just football, but, you know, off the field as well. And I feel like that's what captains should be, you know, someone who does everything on the field as well as off the field, you know, going to class and, you know, getting good grades, and, you know, just making sure everyone's okay on the team and telling people when, you know, they're messing up and letting people know. So he does a great job with that.
And what's so crazy about that spring, this last spring that we had, was it was probably one of the toughest times that I've been through since, you know, that summer after I graduated. And I actually contemplated quitting football and moving back home to Arizona. It sounds so silly, but I had found a girl that I was with, and man, she was beautiful soul, beautiful creature. I just absolutely was head over here for this woman. And that all fall, she was a reason why I was in such a good space spiritually, where I didn't care that I wasn't the main running back, because I knew that I had somebody that cared for me. And, you know, she helped me grow with my relationship with God, and helped me grow in the classroom and the community and whatnot. So I was working on a way to get her here. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, I got to move out into the city. I got to figure out a way to finance the apartment. Okay, she's going to need a car, so how can I finance that? How can I do this? And it was the day before I flew back out here after winter break that she broke up with me. So I had been with this girl, long distance relationship, for 6-7 months. And, you know, the day before I moved back, she ends things with me. So I was in a place where I began having those thoughts again. Those anxiety was going through the roof, and I was just paranoid all the time, and I couldn't sleep. I have problems sleeping now, to where, you know, I go days and days without sleeping. That's probably the reason why, you know, in those 5 o'clock in the morning runs and whatnot, I was so energetic, because, well, I hadn't gone to sleep. So, you know, I was already up, so I didn't have to, you know, put water on my face to wake me up. I was already up. And it had gotten to the point to where I knew that if I didn't reach out to somebody, that I was either gonna end up moving back home the next day or committing suicide. So I ended up texting Coach Blazik and was just asked him, how, Coach, can we talk tomorrow? And this is about 10 o'clock at night. And, you know, he calls me up and says, oh, man, we can talk right now if you need me. Like, I was like, no, it's not that big of a deal, I promise. And then I remember going to his office the next day, and he knew something was wrong. And he just took me in his car. I mean, we drove around Macomb for hours, and we just talked. And I just let him know what was on my heart. And, you know, going to a man with a girl problem, I thought it would be silly. And instead of kind of looking down on me and kind of saying, like, that's childish, he just explained his situation with his wife and his kids and how they got to be, and how that was a situation where, you know, if it wasn't for them having their oldest Cooper, they wouldn't be together right now. And so for a man to be able to take that time out just to tell me something about his life, open up, just let you know, that let me know that this was a place that I should have been all along. That I have a man in Coach Blasey that took the time out just to tell me about his life and just to help me out when I was struggling. And, didn't look down on me at all. Looked at me as an equal, and I appreciate the fact that I, reached out to him, and actually loved the fact that he talked to me. So, yeah, I almost say, that's what I'm saying. You never know. You never know. I was really close to not even being here for this season. And it's all because, everything I was working for with that girl and the life that I was trying to build for us is now over. So now I'm like, well, why am I here? I can finish up my schooling back home. I don't really care too much to play football. I'm just playing football to finish up school, but all I need is a semester left. I can afford that. It took Coach Blasey taking that time out talking to me that allowed me to stay and made me realize that, I do have people here other than her that, I can lean on.
After coming back from such a dark place in Baker's life, disaster strikes again. This time, though, not JC, but his younger brother, Cedric.
My younger brother, the day before I was supposed to fly for camp, was at football practice. He was trying out for the community college back home in Phoenix, and he actually collapsed with a heat stroke and spent the next 10 days sedated because he couldn't breathe on his own, and all his internal organs were failing him and whatnot. So while I'm over here going through camp, my brother's back home fighting for his life, and I don't know, the next practice or the next meeting I could get a call saying, your brother's no longer here. So I just told him that, I don't regret being here rather than being back home with my brother, but I wanted the guys to know that I truly loved them as my brother, and that was the reason why I stayed here during camp and didn't go back home. That I saw each and every single one of them as my brother, and I loved them just as much as the brother that was laying in a hospital bed. So I just wanted them to look at me as a guy that, well, we love you too. And if we love each other, let's go out there and show Drake what a team of brothers can do. Just that moment at the Drake game, and I didn't have the greatest game ever, but the fact that the atmosphere at Hanson Field was just ridiculous. I mean, the fans were crazy, and cheerleaders were going to bands playing. I remember looking up to see my parents. They looked so happy. And just, I think 4 years ago, I was in a small town trying to end my life, and here I am playing in front of a community that loves me in school, that gives anything for their program. And it was just finally saying, like, you know what, God had me in his wings the whole entire time. I just had to have faith. The previous year I wore number 38, and the reason why I wore the number 2 was that was his high school number. And, I changed that in the spring before he had ever, was going to go in the hospital, even knew he was going to go to the hospital. And like I said, you can't predict those things. I wanted my brother to be able to see me in the pictures and be like, JC's doing it for me, Jay's doing it for me. And that's why I told him, I said, whenever you look at a picture, I know you might not ever play football ever again, but when you see a picture of me and you see that number 2, I want you to know that number 2 is for you, When I'm on that field playing, you're right there with me. And you can't predict those things that, he's going to collapse and fight for his life and never be able to play again. But somehow God told me to change your number to number 2 in the springtime. And that's what happened. So it's great motivation because I know that I'm not playing for myself, I'm playing for him as well.
It's too bad we only get him for, 2 seasons. That's, and it was funny, we were having a conversation just last week, JC and I just said, what would you have done, if I didn't walk in, that day and stay in Kai? I said, he's like, I was already ready to go to Arizona State. I was just going to be a student. I wasn't going to play anymore. And, the funny thing is that's what recruiting is finding those guys. And, how many guys are walking around college campuses right now that are JC Bakers and that could be helping, us or another, football team somewhere. So, that's our job, is to find those guys. And fortunately, we found JC.
When you coach, it's special to coach seniors because you know that they see the opportunities winding down and they take full advantage of it. And some of the young guys think they have so much time before their senior year comes by, and all the seniors will tell you how fast it goes. And so it's a special deal. And I wish JC the best.
It's one of those things where he had a dream to play at the D1 level and get his degree. And in 2 months, that's going to be reality. So he's excited. As the biggest thing is, you can just feel the excitement and you can see it. And when he's excited, you know, we're excited. Like, eh. And this was the great thing about it is, I have a fear of flying. I have a phobia, actually. And so he asked me, hey, you know, Dad, I know you got a fear of flying, but I really like to see you at all the games next year. With the guilt trip. And I said, you know what? He's right. You don't get a chance to do this every day, every year. This is the one opportunity to see him play every game. So I committed. I said, I'm going to every single game. So that's what we've done. We've gone to the other 8. We're here for this from tomorrow. And we're going to go to the other 3. And if they play in the postseason, we'll go to those 2. Bottom line is, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to watch him play and enjoy himself out on the football field. And then once the game is done, you know, we hang out wherever we decide to go that night and just enjoy family. It's a blast.
That's a question I've been getting asked a lot. And probably an answer that would be shocking is I probably will end up doing something that I don't want to do. Because if I had it my way, I'd disappear and no one probably ever hear from me again. I'd be off in, I don't know, some type of far away plan where no communication, to where I'm just in peace and quiet. But I know that God didn't, you know, pull me out of that car for me to go away. So I'll continue praying, and whatever he wants from me, I'll gladly do. But what the future holds for me is something I know that I don't want to do.
I would love to see, there's senior activities, obviously. You got the Senior Bowl, and you got the East-West Shrine game. They both happen in January. If he's fortunate enough to get invited to one of those, I would love to see that, because that's him competing against other college all-stars in pads. So I guess you'll find out after the season's over if he gets an invite, but that's my biggest hope, because I think he can play with anyone. And so we'll see how it goes, but just hope. We'll see what happens, but
I'm hoping he's out of pads.
She wants to get him out of pads as soon as possible.
Then I don't have to worry. Although I love my medical counterparts, and I know if he gets banged up, they can fix him up. But I'd like to take a nice, relaxing breath after the last second ticks off the clock and say, whew, he came out all right. That's all I want. I'm waiting for that last second to tick off the clock.
It would be an amazing thing to play in the NFL, obviously. But that dream and that passion to play in the NFL had faded a very long time ago. And I know if I took that route, it wouldn't be for me. It would be for the younger kids in the community back home and even here in Macomb, to let them know that you don't have to be the biggest guy in the world. You don't have to be the fastest guy in the world to make it to the top level. That you can be yourself and very unique in the way God built you, and still make it to the highest level of whatever profession you want to go to. So if I were to take that route, I know that it would be for the youth.
My favorite thing about JC, man, I just love being around the kid, to be honest. He just, you know, if I'm having a bad day, he literally makes it better. It's just one of those things where it's hard to explain. But it's one of those things where you can try to explain, but you really can't explain it, because, you know, you have to see it, because that's just how much we care for each other. Like, I love the kid, man. I love him as one of my brothers, like I said before, and, you know, and for me, my family, you know, I'm such a family-oriented person, and I literally can see, I see him as literally one of my brothers, and I don't see him any differently. And, you know, like I said before, I always tell him, I was like, man, if in 30 years from now, or, you know, when it's all said and done, you know, when we're old men and I'm looking over, and I was like, I walk outside my backyard, and I swear if I don't see you right next door as my next door neighbor, there's gonna be some problems. And he's like, all right, well, you know, he's like, we're gonna be fighting if that's not happening. So, I mean, I was like, always telling him, so I was like, man, I got you, and, you know, I wish that would be awesome for your next door neighbors for the rest of our lives. But like I said, our relationship that we've created is so awesome, and I definitely know it's going to continue past college. And, You know, I love that kid.
I think the way that he carries himself all the time, you know, he's a really competitive kid, you can tell, but he's a team first kind of guy, and he knows that he's a good player, but he shows the quality teammate aspects, and he's just a lot of fun to be around all the time.
Without a doubt that he is an example for every student athlete in our department with his faith.
Like I said, he's a great person, and he's got a great smile, and the energy that he brings, he makes people laugh, and that's a special gift.
Best thing about J.C. Baker is the attitude and the presence he has. And he'll tell you, "Oh, coach, that's not me, that's not what I do." The bounce, the smile, the attitude. You find guys who have been in different situations in life, whether it's working situations, family situations, financial situations, and you learn, and I think the older you get in life, you learn to persevere. Buying houses, having kids, doing that kind of stuff. But not very often does a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid get some of those experiences, and he has made the most of them. Where a lot of guys could have said, "Oh, I'm down and out, I'm done," and given up. He understands in life you got to keep going, which makes practice football is not even close to some of the seriousness he has to deal with in life.
His perseverance. He has never said, "Okay, here's an obstacle, I'm stuck." He said, "There's an obstacle, I got to figure out a way around it or over it." And he's done that. He's done it by example. So that's a great example to his siblings and a lot of other kids that look up to him. So I love his perseverance. He's always motivated, He's never down on himself. It's just, I know I can do it, I just got to figure out how to do it. And another thing too is he listens. He comes to us for advice. And the average teenager that will come to the parents for advice, not always gonna listen, but he listened. And to me, that's great because I feel like I can impart something on him that I've been through, make it easier for him. So it's great when you have a teenager or a young adult that listens to advice from someone who's done some things that they're getting ready to start doing. Makes it easier on them. They don't always see it that way, but he did, and he listened. So, I like that. I'm hogging it, go ahead.
What's your favorite thing about JC?
His smile. His senior game, that last game in Yuma, and I was in the hospital, he and 15 of the football players, 11 o'clock at night, I hear knocking on my door, and they come in and give me the game ball. Yes. And I'm thinking, oh my God, not only are my nurses going to be upset, I'm probably going to get fired from having these underage kids in the hospital, and it's 11 o'clock at night. But sitting around and knowing that these big guys had just played their biggest game in some of their careers, and some of them, that was going to be their last game. Some of them weren't going on to college. They weren't going on to the military. They didn't know where they were going to go. But they thought enough of JC's mom, enough of JC to come to that hospital and spend that hour celebrating with me. That's where they wanted to be. And that let me know that not only had JC taught them the lesson of how important family was, that they were also our family. We've always had a huge football family. And that's special. That's very special.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Go Leathernecks. Yes. Yes.
That's easy. Just get down there and hit somebody.
Make this happen.
Just an average guy that you'll see walking to class, probably won't even notice him. Sitting in front of the class, won't say a word. The guy that you'll catch in his room just in his bed watching YouTube videos. Occasionally this guy named J.C. Baker, touchdown maker, shows up on Saturdays and puts on a show for fans, but as soon as the clock hits 0, he wants nothing more but to disappear.